Recognize the gentleman from Colorado, Mr. Neguse, for his time of questioning.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, Chairman Walberg and Ranking Member Scott, for being here and for your testimony on the bills that we're considering today. Mr. Chairman, I wanted to start with you for a moment and ask you a question about the Tipped Employee Protection Act. This H.R. 2312. I went through the committee report, and in the committee report, I'll quote here, it says that this bill will, quote, helps employees bring home higher paychecks. I assume you agree with that sentiment.
I agree with that.
Okay. Mr. Scott, I take it you do not.
No, I think the bill offers multiple loopholes to enable employers to pay employees less. I don't see how you can make more money out of this bill. I can see many ways you can make less. Starts off with the tipped minimum wage. The more you can get the employee under the tipped minimum wage, it's $2.13 an hour. The more you can get them under that, the less you have to, rather than $7.25, you're saving money.
Sure.
And if you've got some servers and some back of the office, back of the store, say cooks or washers, you got to pay them the full minimum wage. Well, if you send washer to serve tables a little bit, now you don't have to pay them $7.25. Just pay them the little tip minimum wage.
So the question I guess I have, Chairman, I understand that you have a different view as to the bills, the way in which the bill operates.
Well, along with
But,
90...
no, I'm not asking you. I'll get to it. I guess my first question would be, you would agree that helping employees take home higher pay is something that we all should be trying to accomplish. I mean, clearly that's what you believe this bill accomplishes, so I assume that that motive is one you share.
Well, absolutely, but also have jobs to take it home from, and
What was
that's our
that?
concern. Also have jobs and
Sure.
employment to take it home from, and that's why 90% of tipped workers surveyed said they like this approach as opposed to a flat wage
Got it.
approach that we're trying to stay away from.
It strikes me that the simplest way to help employees take home greater pay would be to increase the minimum wage. What is the minimum wage today under federal law?
For tipped workers,
You know, for all workers,
what is it?
$7.25.
$7.25?
$7.25. When was the last time that's been raised by the federal government?
2008, I'm told.
2008. So it took effect in 2009. So 17 years is how long workers across the country, in particular in the 20 states that still use the federal minimum wage as the floor, that's how long they've gone without a raise. Would you not agree with me that it would be incumbent upon the Congress? I mean, I get you have all these other suggestions and proposals about different ways to adjust the tip wage credit and so on and so forth. Why not increase the minimum wage for the first time in 17 years so that Americans who are working hard can finally be able to get the raise that they deserve?
Well, as you've said, there are states that have gone beyond the federal wage.
20 have not.
Michigan has. Those are choices.
I'm happy for Michigan. Colorado, too. But what about Pennsylvania?
Those are choices that states can make. A one-size-fits-all coming to federal government.
You don't think there should be a federal minimum wage?
I think it's difficult. We have a federal minimum wage.
Yeah, and I'm just suggesting, why not? 17 years is a long time, Chairman.
Yeah. Well,
I can't, let me say it this way. There's no way, I don't think that you would contend that a constituent in your district could make a living, be able to live, sustain a family making $13,920 a year, which is how much the federal minimum wage would ultimately provide. And of course, they don't, in your case, have to because the Michigan minimum wage is higher. But I have to imagine you agree with me that that is too low. Or is
Well, I
that
think-
not, or you disagree?
No, I think that probably is too low, but that's assuming.
Can we increase it?
That they don't have choice and opportunity to find jobs that go beyond that.
Okay.
And with tipped wage workers, generally, they make significantly more than that.
Well, the only reason why I say this is that the gentleman sitting next to you, the ranking member, has a really great bill to raise the minimum wage for the first time in 17 years, to give Americans the compensation that I believe they so much deserve. And I would hope this committee, or hope your committee, could mark up that bill, and I would think it would be a priority for this committee as well. I want to move to the Childcare bill. This is Ms. Stefanik's bill regarding HR 2270, Empowering Employer, Child, and Elder Care Solutions Act. So my understanding of the construct of this bill is that it removes child care expenses that an employer may provide to an employee from the calculation of the regular rate for that employee's rate of compensation, correct?
Correct.
Okay. And so that in turn removes it from the rate that's used to determine overtime pay, right?
That's correct.
Okay. And obviously, as you can imagine, and I understand you have a different point of view than I do on this, but in my view, any step that the U.S. Congress would take to reduce the amount of money that an employee would make via their overtime pay is deeply problematic. And I'm not the only one who believes that. The Department of Labor has concluded that on multiple occasions. You're aware of that?
I'm aware of that, but they've also concluded the opposite as well.
Well, let's walk through it. The first time the Department of Labor made this conclusion was in 1983. You're aware, correct?
I'll take your word for that.
Yeah, I wasn't alive yet, I wasn't born yet, but this, I can tell you, I've gone through it.
I was.
All right, well, then you would be able to tell me who the president was in 1983.
I remember in 1983 that the president was
Ronald Reagan.
Ronald
right?
Reagan.
Not a pop
and,
quiz. I mean, this was, and so Ronald Reagan's Department of Labor concluded that child care costs provided by the employer to employee ought to be included in the overtime rate. Fast forward quite a while, I think almost 40 years, 2020. Department of Labor reaches the same conclusion. And I suspect you know who was president in 2020.
I do.
Donald Trump, right? So successive Republican administrations have concluded that the view that you're articulating now today, a diminution in the overtime rate for workers by virtue of taking these child care payments out of the regular rate, is not consistent with the statute, with the Fair Labor Standards Act, nor the principles undergirding the Fair Labor Standards Act. And I find it problematic that you all have now decided to change your tune, but I'll give you an opportunity to explain why.
Well, we learn over time the impact of some of these well-meaning provisions. I think, again, going back to a
Who's we?
statement.
You mean Donald Trump is 5 years ago?
I'm talking about the committee here.
Oh, okay.
And why we're putting this forward, because we find out that when you include this as part and consideration of overtime pay, if you want these type of benefits, which are becoming more needed all the time, with child care, but also with elder care, with the aging population, if this is a benefit that we want to encourage businesses to offer to their employees, we have to make sure that it makes bottom line fiscal sense for them to do that. If it becomes more costly, we significantly reduce the expectation, the opportunity that those benefits will be offered as a benefit to their employees.
I see. Okay, well, so I guess using that argument then, I assume that this bill requires that an employer, if they're to provide the child care benefit, that reflect the actual cost of the child care that's provided? Or is that not the case?
Repeat that again.
Well, your point here, you made an argument that this would incentivize employers providing more child care benefits to their employees because they no longer have to use that amount for calculating the regular rate for purposes of determining overtime pay. I'm simply saying, is there a requirement in your bill that the benefit that's provided by the employer actually reflect the cost of the child care?
I would assume.
No, the answer is no, Mr. Chairman. You're assuming wrong. Or am I mistaken?
let's go back to that.
What was that?
Let's go back to your question again.
Okay, so the bill requires that child care payments that an employer provides to an employee be removed from the regular rate of pay for purposes of calculating overtime.
Overtime, correct.
Okay. Your argument is that that will incentivize employers to provide more child care benefits.
Would it,
Got it. And I'm saying, my question to you was that your bill, surely, if you care that deeply about providing or incentivizing employers to provide child care benefits, I assume your bill would have a basic requirement that those child care benefits.
we don't have a requirement for that.
Correct.
That's correct.
There's no requirement in this
there isn't.
bill. So an employer could, provide some meager amount that doesn't come close to paying the cost of childcare. I'm sure, and if childcare is anything like it is in Michigan as it is in Colorado, it is prohibitively expensive. And I'm telling you, I have a 7-year-old daughter and a 2-year-old son, so it is expensive. You're talking about thousands of dollars every month. An employer could choose to provide some nominal payment, remove that amount sufficient to drop that overtime rate of pay so that they're saving money on their bottom line. And at the end of the day, the only person who loses in that scenario is the employee. Right?
If that's what's done by the employer.
Yeah. Okay. Well, in light of that, and I appreciate your
But a
honest
competitive
answers.
framework of employment.
Sure. And I'm
Makes a
hopeful-
challenge.
No, I hear you, and I think you answered that question honestly. So last question, because the chairman's indulged me. I appreciate this. I want to cover the retirement bill, just briefly. Or
Could-
may I give the ranking member an opportunity to
No,
opine here?
you left
Yes.
one category out, people who already have the benefit.
Oh, sure, of course. That's right. Yeah, correct.
They just lose.
Yeah, the ranking member makes a valid point. So today, there are a plethora of workers who are receiving child care benefits from their employer. But those benefits are also used to calculate their overtime rate of pay. And under this bill, if this bill were to become law, they would just lose, as the ranking member said. You're talking about their paychecks getting docked. But I want to go to the Protecting Prudent Investment of Retirement Savings Act, H.R. 2088. The ranking member, McGovern, covered this extensively. This bill essentially would ensure that investment managers could no longer use diversity as one of the sort of guiding factors behind any kind of management investment decisions, correct?
That's correct.
Okay. There's about $82 trillion in financial assets that are under management in the United States of America. Does that sound about right? It's a lot of money.
It's a lot of money.
A lot of money. Do you know what percentage of those assets are managed by women-owned firms, minority-owned firms?
I don't know.
1.4%. $82 trillion. $82 trillion managed by investment firms in the United States of America. And 1.4% are managed by women or minority-owned firms. I do not understand what problem you are attempting to solve, with all due respect, Mr. Chairman. I don't. Explain to me.
Are you suggesting that we do require?
No, I'm
investment?
suggesting that you're spending our time here essentially trying to codify into federal law a ban on any consideration of diversity with respect to investment management decisions. And I'm telling you that, as least as I can currently tell from the empirical data that's out there, this doesn't seem like a particular problem that needs solving. $82 trillion managed by investment firms nationwide, 1.4% of them are managed by women or minority-owned firms, and you're saying that we've got to take steps to make sure that that 1.4% goes to zero?
Are you saying neutrality is wrong for us to push forward?
I'm asking you, as I said, to identify for me the problem you're trying to solve.
Well,
It doesn't seem like-
we're trying to solve the problem of requirements of ESG.
And that's because why? Because 50% of the
No, it's not based-
investment management
No, it's
firms
not-
are managed by
No, it's not
women and
based on that at
minority-owned
all.
firms.
It's based upon the facts of neutrality and being fair and letting the system work itself, which
well.
apparently, it's going just fine
Well,
without having.
you and I have a very different view or perhaps definition of fair? Because I don't, your notion of
Well,
$82 trillion of
You would indicate we ought to
management-
push more
I am
investment?
suggesting to you that of all the priorities that we could be pursuing, including, by the way, how we started, perhaps raising the minimum wage, that this would not be the priority that I would pick.
But
But in any
then
event, the chairman
what-
indulged me. I appreciate the chairman's response. I yield back to Councilman.